Hello everyone and welcome to our first video on the new channel. Today we're going to be discussing one of my favorite series kind of ever, but specifically we're going to be talking about Dragon Ball GT. Dragon Ball, of course, one of my favorite television series ever. I've only read a little bit of the manga. Admittedly, I've only read the Majin Buu arc in the manga. Dragon Ball, of course, to many people my age, was a big deal growing up. It was a lot of what we watched. And GT was the last we got of it for a very long time until Super. And while every part of the series has its own issues and stuff and everything like that, Dragon Ball GT kind of gets a bad rap. And I just want to kind of talk about the pros and cons of GT and kind of talk about how we could have maybe fixed some of the cons. And why to me it's one of the better series, even though it is admittedly problem filled. So with that being said, guys, I do not own the rights to any of the images I use. Most of them are just generic clips from the anime or like wallpapers from Xenoverse 2, stuff like that I've got. But the stuff that I have taken from specific artists, or if it looked like it was a personal, like someone drew it, like a fan art type thing, then I'm going to put those links in the descriptions of this so you can check out the actual artist, because all the pictures I took were from very talented people and they deserve the credit. They're not me. So with that being said, let's talk about we're not necessarily going to go in order of like all the cons and then all the pros. I decided we're kind of just going to talk about it in order of like how the series progressed somewhat. So we're going to talk about like my first issue with the series, then my next one, so on and so forth, until we get to the end of it. So with that being said, we're going to hop in and get to our first con. Our first con, which is Goku returning to a child form. Now, I have a lot of issues with this, but let's talk about something to start with. So, allegedly, from what I've read from the research I did, which I only did about 20-30 minutes of research, so nothing like super in detail and super deep, but from what I could read, the big reason that they decided to revert Goku back to this child form is because, number one, they wanted to capture that feeling from Dragon Ball again. They wanted that feeling, which we'll talk more about that later, but they wanted that feeling again. Plus, having a young teenage boy looking character helps draw the audience of teenage boys, which, as the name shonen people would assume, is for teenage boys. Well, yes, Dragon Ball, of course, has quite a large fan base of, early 20s age people. Mid 20s now, I guess, is actually probably more accurate. Obviously, the manga and stuff like that was originally targeted at the shonen genre audience, which is teenage boys. Now, obviously, GT never got a proper manga adaptation, but it was still wanting to be targeted at that same age group. I think this just kind of served as a waste of time and derived a stupid plot point that we just did not need in the entire series. Another big thing that I've never really seen any confirmation or any kind of like push towards the creators thinking this way, but something I've noticed through the fandom is a lot of people have come to the kind of this consensus that it was also done because Goku had become too strong and they were going to have too much of a difficulty writing a new plot with all of these characters like Trunks, like Pan, like Goten, like these younger characters they wanted to use and make them relevant, which, to be fair, is a factor. But Super, I think, does a really good job of it. Picks a group of characters, keeps them relevant, and everyone else is kind of there. And yes, everyone else gets their own screen time, Don't get me wrong, there's the whole Destroyer tournament in Super that you get a waste of time out of. Piccolo, like, why is he there? It's just dumb. Like, they did him dirty. But I think he could have still been relevant. I think Piccolo is a character who uniquely doesn't get utilized well enough in any of the later series beyond the Cell Saga. So not in Boo, and definitely not in GT or Super. Which we don't talk about how dirty the GT did Piccolo, but it feels pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, but Super did do a good job of they kept Goku and Vegeta relevant and built the story around those two characters. But then they also gave the Tournament of Power, where they gave a moment for other characters who hadn't been relevant in a while to have some super awesome moments. And I think the thing is, a lot of other anime do this a lot better. Like take the big three, like Naruto, Bleach, One Piece. I think One Piece does it the best, to be honest, where they take a group of villains and they have a leader. That leader is obviously who Ichigo or Naruto or Luffy is going to fight. And then you have subordinates, though. And you tier the subordinates down from Zoro and Sanji level, and then you get down to Nami and Chopper level. And to me, I think that's what Dragon Ball GT could have done. And we kind of, to some extent, see that in what movie was it? BoJack. In BoJack Unbound, where BoJack's henchmen could have been dealt with by the side cast. They obviously didn't go that route and had BoJack kill a bunch of them. Or was it a bunch of them? I don't remember that movie very well. Sorry, I shouldn't be referencing a movie I don't remember very well off the top of my head. But my point being that you could have had these side characters fight against these subordinates and then have Goku beat the main villain. And that allows you to have Pan and Trunks have cool moments, but also for Goku to do a lot of work. But we'll get more to that point later. Yeah, so that's my main complaints with that first segment. Our next thing is the Black Star Dragon Balls. Black Star Dragon Balls, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I mean, first of all, I do like how they do pop a little bit better. And I think that the red Shenron is cool. But that's where the positives of them end. Just completely, that's it. Now, obviously, they only exist to give Goku and the team a reason to leave the planet and travel through the galaxy or universe. Is it galaxy? I think it's galaxy. Traveling through the galaxy to gather these Dragon Balls. Now, maybe I missed it, or maybe it's better explained in the Japanese version, but they kind of just exist. And obviously later we understand that after the Baby Saga, when Piccolo dies on Earth, with Earth being destroyed, we learn that obviously the Black Star Dragon Balls are tied to Piccolo, which sort of makes sense, but it also just doesn't. Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense, in my opinion. They're just purely there to drive the plot. They're a convenient thing for Pilaf and gang to find and wish for Goku to basically become a child again. Which I get that it was a dual wielded point. It gave you a reason to have him traveling around the galaxy, but it also gave you a reason for the audience to have a kid-like character be found around. And I get it, like, you didn't really want it to be Pan because she's a teenage girl, so you want to target teenage boys, so it's better to have a teenage boy be the main figure than the teenage girl. I think I get that's the target audience, but I think you could have done Pan, just had Pan be the main character, fine. But yeah. Overall, it's stupid. And they're never relevant again. They're never really talked about again. Their only existence was literally to drive the plot to start the series. And Goku loves to fight. The dude lives to fight. That's his only purpose in the entire world, is to get stronger. You couldn't have had any other way of causing him to go into space. You had no other reasons. Shit. I mean, I could probably think of a dozen. I mean, I'm not going to waste time right now doing it, but let me know. Maybe I'll do a dozen reasons why you could have sent Goku into space for GT instead of the Black Star Dragon Ball. All right, the next one I'm gonna kind of collaborate 3 different ones together. The big ones here are gonna be a con is that they tried to return to a 3-person group, kind of a journey collecting the Dragon Balls again, like in the OG. Which I get that nostalgia. That's what you want to hit. That's what you want to feel. That's what you're going for. That's why we have Goku, Trunks, and Pan teaming up to travel the galaxy to find the Black Star Dragon Balls. The problem is, not only did you just kind of make this all boring, but in the process of making this pretty boring, you kind of just messed up the characters of Trunks and Pan. Like, I understand that we had Kid Trunks, and he is growing up, and this is now him as an adult. And Kid Trunks was a kid. A little annoying, juvenile, childish, sure. The issue is, when he becomes an adult, we throw out a lot of things. It's just too much to throw out. He really just comes down to, we had a blueprint. I'm not saying he had to be a carbon copy of future Trunks, but he could have been 10% more like future Trunks and been 10 times a better character. You could have made him a fraction more like him and made him infinitely a better character. And then we have Pan, who... Pan's awesome. She's one of my favorite characters introduced. I do think that they handled her character horribly, but Pan is awesome. I think Pan is super cool, and just a perfect example of missed opportunity, which I think is the point of GT. I think GT is, and I heard Team 4 Star say it, GT is great ideas executed badly, and Super is terrible ideas executed well. I think Pan was a great idea, just not executed at all. So that's going to be one thing, one con there. And then the last one is literally the first 16 episodes of the series leading to the Baby Saga. Now, if you're like me and you watched in the US for the first time, I think it was in the US. Let me rephrase it. The first time I watched it, we got a recap episode that spanned the first 16 episodes of the series. And then, after the first 16 episodes of the series, we started into the baby arc. Now, since then, I had watched them on Adult Swim, the first, or Toonami. I'd watched the first 16 episodes by themselves. I had owned the missing episodes, GT missing episodes, which was the first 16 episodes that they cut out because they were afraid fans would think that's boring. Which it was. They were right. Great call. But yeah. So to start with, I'm not opposed to traveling and exploring new planets. But the thing is, all the planets are boring. They feel the same. The characters we meet just feel bland and uninteresting. That's pretty much it. They suffer from being boring. And I understand you're making a lot of characters for each individual episode because you're going about traveling across the universe path or galaxy path, but I don't know. It's so forgetful. Like, I had to look up the first 16 episodes to remember anything about the first 16 episodes. Give or take. I found out I remembered a couple things about it, but that's it. And another thing is, while we're on those planets, it feels just so underwhelming having Goku, Pan, and Trunks do stuff. To where you could easily have just started with the Baby Saga. Or Baby Arc. Started with that and literally go from there. They should have just let Goku, Pan, and Trunks go through the planets doing different things to try and help their goals. You know, that would have been much better, I think. You could also use this time so that Goku and Pan could train together. He could teach her some stuff. And that's it. She could harness her powers as a Saiyan. And we could finally see her transform to a Super Saiyan some point in the series, even maybe. you know. And we could see Trunks becoming more like his future self. That's it. Like, this version of Trunks we got was so watered down and just so annoying. He fell to the background. And honestly, if it wasn't for Trunks being one of my favorite characters, I forgot he was there. I didn't remember he was there. And another thing is, we see so much potential from teenage Trunks. Or not teenage, but preteen Trunks. He's got so much potential. He could have been such a badass. And yet we get this kind of weak version. And I get that it's like kind of there to mirror Goten, who takes after more Gohan's path, where he becomes kind of more of a school kid. And actually Goten's kind of funny because he's a kind of a lady killer in this series, which is something in contrast to like every other character. I guess Gohan did okay, but you know. But yeah, so it's not completely unbelievable that Trunks kind of got weak since his mirror was Goten, and Goten also was kind of weak. But the thing is, with Vegeta still around, and keep in mind Goku's alive this whole time, it's hard for me to imagine Trunks just stopped training and didn't really progress very well. Which is what it feels like, because it feels like he didn't get any stronger than his teenage form. Like, does he even obtain Super Saiyan 2? Do we even see that? I don't think we do. I really don't think we do. Anyway, another con that I do want to address now that I thought about it is the treatment of all the side characters, or the characters that were normally the side characters. Piccolo dies, Krillin dies. Basically, might as well have been off screen. I don't care. Could have just done them both off screen, and it would have been just as impactful. 18 gets some love, admittedly, during the Super 17 arc, but that's it. And then even Vegeta is just like done dirty. You're telling me in all this time the dude hasn't gotten stronger? Like, I think Super did a great job depicting the fact that him and Goku both would have kept training, both kept working and trying to get stronger. Like, you're telling me Vegeta just gave up? Nah, I don't buy it. I'm not buying it at all. You know, what's the reason? What's the reason they want to keep training? That's what I needed. I needed a reason. Oh, and God, Oob. Poor Oob. Or Majub, or whatever his name is at the end of the series. The dude's not talked about for the first 16 episodes of the series, hardly. Then we get him again during Baby, and then if he's in the series anymore after that, I don't remember it. Don't remember him. Overall, my biggest way to fix it, I think, the beginning part, that is, would be eliminate the first 16 episodes as they were, and in order to have the Baby arc, you don't even need to go into the outer space. Just spend that first 16 episodes slowly developing Baby's quote-unquote infection of the Saiyans and revenge plot while doing stuff with other characters. Show us how they've gotten stronger. Hell, spend episodes with Goku hanging out with Pan and them going around traveling and getting to the rest of the Z Fighters or former Z Fighters. That'd have been a great way to do it. And that way, episodically, you could just have Goku and Pan hang out with each different member of the Z Fighters without having to worry about new landscapes and new characters that are going to be forgettable anyway and boring. Yeah, so that's my big thing there. Let's move on to our next point, which is the Super Saiyan 4 transformation. Now, Super Saiyan 4 is undoubtedly my favorite transformation. I think it is phenomenal, and I think it looks good in the 3 instances we get it, which we get Goku, Vegeta, and then Super Saiyan Gogeta. I think all 3 depictions we get are awesome. The only thing I would change about Goku is the color of his gi. Of course, I do believe we did get Zeno Goku in Dragon Ball Super Heroes or whatever it's called, the like 8-minute episode ones. Give me a second. Let me see if I can pull it up. There it is. I know for you guys that was like milliseconds, but yeah. So they changed the one thing I had a real complaint with, which is the pants. I don't like the yellow gi with the red fur. I don't like it. Or pink fur, whatever you want to call it. Because it does, especially compared to Gogeta, look more pink. The transformation's awesome. I love it. It is iconic. It is memorable, and yes, it looks different. And that is a lot of people's complaint about it. Is they don't like the pink fur, they don't like the black hair, they don't like blah 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 blah. Well, my thing is, I think it just stands out so much better as this kind of unique, diverse form. It looks super awesome, and it really, really does the job of kind of selling that more animalistic, more almost violent Saiyan appearance that we see of Super Saiyan 4. Which I'm a huge fan. And of course, the other Super Saiyans all kind of accentuate the human side of it, to where this one, like I said, really pulls out that Saiyan feeling behind it. I think the biggest con with the transformation, which brings us to our next con, is the underutilization of the Super Saiyan 4 form. I mean, come on, during Super 17 arc, Goku finishes the fight in his normal form with 18's help. And don't get me wrong, I get that narratively 18, that was important for her character. That was a cool moment for her character. But there was no reason through that fight. I remember watching the fight, I'm like, why is this happening? Why are you so weak all of a sudden, Goku? And I could buy that he was tired, but if that was the case, why was he transforming into Super Saiyan 4 in the first place if he was too tired? But he should have been able to handle Super 17, I think, as Super Saiyan 4. And then during the Shadow Dragon saga, it's used extremely sparingly as well. I mean, Haze, Rage, and Oceanus, the first 3 dragons we meet, are all beaten without Super Saiyan 4. Which, some of them narratively I can understand why, but that doesn't make it good. And then Naturon, Shenron, the 4th one, he gets washed by Super Saiyan 4 without much effort, and that fits. Like, I feel fine by that. But it's like, all these conflicts should have been over so much sooner. And then, yeah, it's not till the final 3, unless you want to count Sin and Omega different dragons than 4. It's not until the final 4 or 3 dragons that Super Saiyan 4 is used, or even really worth using. And I gotta assume it's purely because they wanted to hit so many episodes and they were trying to stretch it to reach those episodes. That's why we got individual episodes for Haze, Rage, Oceanus, and Naturon. But I don't think it needed to. Or we could have had interesting moments where, like, Oceanus and Naturon team up. You know, that would have been interesting to me. That would have been really cool to me. I would have loved to have seen that. But obviously, we don't get that. Another thing is getting to see Vegeta reach it was super cool too. I'll admit, I really don't like how Vegeta got there. I get that, like, you're ending the series, there's not much else to do about it. But the fact that his transformation is unsustainable, because once he leaves it, he needs artificially infused Blux waves to transform. I'm not a fan of that. But I love the transformation. Going from the Golden Ape / Golden Uzaru to becoming a Super Saiyan 4 is awesome. Plus, in the original, like, when they talked about the Legend of the Super Saiyan, it, like, was always talking about, like, from a Great Ape to a Super Saiyan kind of imagery, and that was awesome. So it's cool to see that, like, kind of fulfilled. And my personal headcanon is that maybe the original Super Saiyan, like the original Legend of the Super Saiyan, which I know technically retroactively it's Bardock, at least I think that's the intention of the whole second Bardock's special. But to me, it is easily, in my headcanon, the legendary Super Saiyan that they were prophesying about. And that's it. The only thing I have against it is the gi. That's the only downside I have to Super Saiyan 4 is the stupid clothing he's wearing. So, yeah, I can't really hold much against that, so that's my only complaint. Our next pro that's going to lead into another con is the concept of the villains. in Dragon Ball GT are awesome. I love them. I love the ideas. Starting with the center here, Baby. Baby is awesome. Tuffles, wanting revenge, super awesome idea. And we could have spent more time setting up for it and stuff like that, but I love this arc. It's really cool. And yes, his ability works kind of in a weird way, like the taking over bodies, but there's nothing bad about that. I love the whole Baby taking revenge on the Saiyans. It's awesome. Like, we could have easily started off still focused on the three-man group if you wanted, but just everything leading directly into Baby rather than being an excuse with the Black Star Dragon Balls then leading to Baby. And of course, Super 17, like, revisiting the androids who were a huge part of the history of the Z segment of Dragon Ball, which I understand in the manga it's all Dragon Ball, but for us anime watchers originally, they're very different things. Super 17 is awesome. It's an awesome cap off to 17, and it's cool to see that some part of 17 was still possibly good throughout all of that transition and stuff. And then the Shadow Dragons, come on. All these wishes throughout the entire saga, throughout all of Dragon Ball Z, and now into GT, and we're paying for those basically sins of wasting wishes, of just using them for every single conflict. Come on. That's just, yeah, it's just awesome in my opinion. But with that being said, specifically talking about Baby, which check out this awesome art here. The link to the creator will be in the description below, or the person that posted it at least. I assume they're the creator, but yeah. Like, Baby to me is just like, number one, he is the cause for the transformation to Super Saiyan 4 to need to happen, and it's awesome. And seeing Goku as he's trying to fly away just blast him away is awesome. That is a great way to cap off the series, the end of that arc. I absolutely could not have loved it anymore. Yeah, I mean, I think though the biggest failure with Baby is simply in the fact that we waited these 16 episodes and they could have kept Baby around, still done him as the main villain, but just set it up differently. We could have spent more time in this setup for the final parts of the arc. You know, you could have kept Trunks and Pan being the main protagonists alongside Goku, and we could see Trunks having to duke it out with his best buddy Goten, and that, like, almost Joey and Yugi from Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, struggle of best friends. Like, that would have been awesome. And then you could have Pan being underestimated every step by Baby, and eventually having a moment where she gets her time to shine. And that could even be when her Super Saiyan transformation happens. At one point while she's fighting against someone being controlled by Baby, or maybe even against Baby. And obviously she's not going to win. She's not going to beat Baby. But come on. If she spent an entire year being trained by Goku, leading up to this fight, she could probably have beaten her dad at the time. And even Goten, from what we saw, if we kept him the same, like, it would have been awesome. And that's it. It still would have been enough to push Goku to Super Saiyan 4. And, like, I don't know. I love Baby. I love that arc, and there isn't a lot I would change about that one. Other than all the things I would change about the arc are revolving around the other cons so far. Next up, we have Super 17, who I think he is one of the most interesting ideas. The idea of two androids fusing together to become a more powerful android. But I think he's also the worst executed of all the GT villains that aren't just forgettable one-shots. Or Dr. Mew, because that dude's forgettable. If it wasn't for Super 17, I wouldn't even remember his name. I think the biggest thing too for me personally is that it feels like a ripoff of the Janemba movie. Because the dead are coming back to life because there was a hole in hell. Yeah, that to me is a miss. And I think another thing is, with Vegeta seeing Goku ascend to Super Saiyan 4, we missed an awesome chance for Vegeta to really step up and try and fight 17 and ascend. And I understand he did fight 17, but imagine if that's where he ascends to Super Saiyan 4 is against Super 17. And of course, the newly transformed Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta may not be strong enough, but that would be an awesome pace setter for Goku to show up then as Super Saiyan 4. And instead of having them fight together, have kind of a moment where Vegeta is just like, you finish this, you got this. Like, you know, this is his weakness. And Goku can exploit it and finally take him down. Since that was the big theme of that entire fight anyway, was we'll exploit his weakness and then Goku's going to beat him at the end. I get that you wanted to have the 18 moment, and I do admit that was a nice moment for 18. But everything around it, you didn't need to kill Krillin again. It's just like, at that point, it's just a meme. You're killing him for the meme. That's it. But yeah. And you could have even had it worked it out so that Goku and Vegeta ended up teaming up to take him down in Super Saiyan 4. That would have been great. That would have been awesome. I would have loved that so much. And I do admit 18 being able to get through 17 and her real 17, so he kind of can break free of the control and kills Mew and then sets himself up to be taken out by Goku. That is okay. But it's just not, it's not necessary. We don't need it. We do not need it. I would have loved to see Super Saiyan 4 just take him down. In fact, I said it earlier, but Super Saiyan 4 felt super nerfed in that fight because it felt like, I get you can't use your key-based attacks, but you could totally decimate this dude with your just raw power. Which we didn't get. On that note, oh boy, the Shadow Dragons. So, while Ice Nova, Sin, and then eventually Omega are awesome and a perfect example of the good that came from GT, Haze, Rage, Oceanus, and Natron are pretty terrible. They're pretty terrible in my opinion. Starting with Haze, of course. Haze is super weak. He's really, really weak. And he's so dangerous because he lulls the group into this like sense of like, oh, well, you're weak and pathetic, while his pollution is poisoning them and weakening them. Now, there's a lot of moments in that fight that I absolutely hate, but I'm not going to go into them. I'm not going to talk about them because I don't think it's worth it. I think the big part here is that Haze's powers are a cool idea. Goku loves toying with his enemies. That's something he does. Not intentionally, he just doesn't want to just wipe out an opponent. So Goku might still toy with him, might still mess with him, you know, try to get him to show his true power, his transformation. And by the time Goku realizes there is no transformation coming, Goku's too weak, even in Super Saiyan 4, just to one-shot this dude. That's what we could have had. We could have had that happen. You know, and hell, he was weak enough, Pan could have blown him away. Especially if she had Super Saiyan. Like, can you imagine a Super Saiyan Pan, Goku toying around with him, and her trying to be like, Grandpa, hey, we need to end this, and him just being like, no, I want to see his true power. And then, because don't tell me Goku wouldn't do that, because he did that all throughout the series. I mean, Jesus Christ, he gave Cell a freaking Senzu Bean. Only one that's worse is Vegeta. Only one that's worse is Vegeta. The difference is Vegeta does it purely out of pride for trying to show he's better, to where Goku does it because he wants the challenge. And for the love of God, that's how Tournament of Power started, was he wanted the challenge. Yeah, Haze absolutely is a perfect example of a really awesome concept executed terribly. And I again, design-wise also, I hate his design, but that's just me. And I think the worst actual offender here is Rage, because Rage Shenron didn't need anyone to beat him. All that had happened was it rained. All I had to do was start raining and he was done. Which, while I'm okay with the, like, outs to some of these villains being weird... Potential spam, yay. Being weird, like, typical things. Rain, of all things, is how he's beaten. Get out of here. He just needed to be completely reworked. I dig the electricity and stuff, right? That was him? Yeah, that was him. But that was it. And next up is Oceanus, which is interesting because they appear as a female, so she in the beginning, but her true form is a monstrous dragon like the others. And I love the concept of the transformation. I think that is something that you could have easily done more with. Also, the fact that they weren't controlling people through mind control or anything. They were literally just controlling people because they were giving the city and the fishing village good things. They were doing good things, which earned the kindness from them. And they thought she was a princess, so they wanted to, back her up. So, can you imagine if Goku had to fight off the dragon while Pan and whatever had to fight off the villagers, or they both had to fight off villagers without hurting them? So, I think this is definitely underutilized. I think the transformation could have been a lot more in depth than just changing her form to a feminine figure, or their form to a feminine figure. But that's just my opinion. I still think that Oceanus, for being a bad one, is pretty interesting. And the wind part is kind of cool. I like it. The abilities are interesting, but yeah. This is another one. If Goku had started off as Super Saiyan 4, he would have just 10 times Kamehameha blown them straight out of existence. Not even a threat. That brings us to Shenron, which is a cool one. I like the concept of being able to. It's basically takes over. I forgot the word for it, but which is obviously sounds kind of stupid. But Shenron takes over a host and uses its body and boosts its power. And we see it initially as a weak little mole, and so obviously it doesn't feel very intimidating. But then it takes over Pan and becomes this draconic form that's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, it's not the coolest, not great, definitely some downsides, but it's, considering as what the others looked like up to this point, it is the coolest dragon at this point. But again, it's a super cool ability on a super weak dragon, and it just lets kind of things down. That's my biggest problem. Next up, we got Ice and Nova Shenron. Number one, I love Nova. The fact that it's in the 4-star Dragon Ball, and because of the 4-star significance to Goku and to Grandpa Gohan, somehow it has enough good in it that he has morals, and he's the only one of the dragons that has morals and has some kind of goodness. And later on, at the end of the fight, we get to see him team up with Goku and help out against Omega. That is awesome. Tor Ice is the exact opposite, which is kind of funny because I love the cold as ice and warm-hearted. I like that dynamic. I think that's a good one. Their designs are are interesting. I think it's weirder that they're twins, but yeah, that is what that is. Obviously, their powers are super cool. They're both a pretty good fight for Goku, except for the fact that I think Ice was pathetic, and honestly, Ice could have been super wiped out if it wasn't for the fact of playing dirty and blinding Goku, which kind of all just speaks more towards the power of Super Saiyan 4 than it does anything else. But yeah, I do like their abilities. I love their gameplay in Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3. Old game, but if you get a chance to play it, it's 100% worth it. I think another issue I have here with these two is the fact that, I don't know, Nova feels like he kind of, because of the almost change of heart stuff, kind of feels like he got wasted. And of course, coming back later on to help out is super sweet, but I feel like these two deserved a little bit more time against Goku and a little bit more time on screen than they got. That brings us to lastly, Sin Shenron, of course. And he is honestly the blandest of the dragons, even though I think he's got one of the cooler designs. He's kind of just there. And he's stronger than the others. I get that. That's a cool factor. But honestly, he's a bit of a letdown. That being said, though, it's all understandable and forgiven because after Sin comes Big Daddy Omega Shenron, who is unbelievably destructive. And I like the simplicity of Omega's design, even though I do think it could have gone a little bit better. I think the color scheme is the biggest weakness to it, the white and blue. Not digging it. I think his alternate skin is black and red on like in Xenoverse, or not Xenoverse, but Budokai Tenkaichi 3 and 2. I think his alternate costume is red and black. I think that was a much better look for him. But that being said, still pretty cool. Still enjoy the design and the power. It's so cool that he's able to tap into the other dragon's powers. And honestly, I think that's an utterly underutilized fight. And I think it's a prime example of the fact they canceled the series and were ending the series. They needed to get to, 64 episodes? And that's how they had to end it. So they had to kind of rush through things to end the series. Which is why Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta felt like it was rushed. But yeah. Overall, my biggest complaint with that entire last saga is the fact that I think it should have ended with Gogeta beating him. But that being said, moving on to our final pro, I think they did redeem themselves. So, of course, the very end, we get what fans have dubbed the Universal Spirit Bomb. And Goku obliterates Omega Shenron, purifying the last of the Dragon Balls, and seemingly flying away on Shenron. Now, I interpret this as Goku has made the ultimate sacrifice, died, and he's taking the Dragon Balls with him to the afterlife. So that specifically, these set of Dragon Balls can never be used again, because people will tarnish them. Now, obviously, because we get another movie involving Goku Jr. later on, and there's a Dragon Ball in it. Obviously, this isn't 100% what happened, unless you choose to ignore that movie, which I generally speaking do. But yeah, this movie is the ending it's really good. I do think it would have been better off just to end the battle, for the battle's sake, to end the battle with Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta destroying Omega Shenron. I think it would have been the ultimate cap off to Fusion, and it finally would have given Fusion a win before the Dragon Ball Z Broly movie in canon at the time. Of course, we did get the win in Janemba, which was awesome, but Vegeta's never really won a fight, and Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta never won a fight either. But yeah, I really would have enjoyed that. But the ending is nice, and I do get why some people do complain. The end of Z leaves it off with this: we're going on an adventure. Like that's how it started. Was an adventure. It's a journey. The story is the journey, not the destination. It wasn't where we were ending. It's about what we did to get to the end. That was the real value of the story. And I love it. I love that. I do like it for Z. But I am a person I prefer a little bit more finalized endings. Like if I ever talk about Naruto, you'll probably hear me say I hate the end of Naruto. And I get that like it's set up for Boruto and we have Boruto, but I hate it. It doesn't feel ended at the end of Naruto. You know, to where with like Bleach feels more ended. Now obviously more details of that come, but to me it felt more ended. It felt like there will be other stories someday, but for now, everyone's done. Toward the end of Z, it felt like it's just another day. We're going to start another day tomorrow. We're going to start another battle. We're going to start another arc tomorrow. You know, tune in next week where we start the next saga. That's what it felt like. For with GT, it felt like this is the end. This generation is done. Yes, there will be more stories. Yes, the other characters will do stuff. Yes, we meet Vegeta Jr. and Goku Jr. at the very, very end. But Goku's done. Goku has fought his last battle. It's going to Otherworld, and that's the end. I think it's a good ending to Goku. I think it's a good ending for the Dragon Balls. It teaches everyone that, hey, we abused these wish orbs, and because of that, Goku had to pay the ultimate price. Yeah, I personally enjoy it a lot. I think that there are some weak points to it, and I completely understand anyone's argument that doesn't like it when it's based on the fact that they prefer the journey will continue type ending. So this is obviously the end of Goku's journey. It's done. Goku has nowhere else to go now. In the afterlife, it's over. The big reason why I love the end of the Cell Saga is because it feels like for our main character, the series is over. Goku's done. He's finished his journey. He's going to live happily ever after in the other world. And now it's time for Gohan, Vegeta, and the rest of the Z Fighters to pick up the fight. Their time. And don't get me wrong, I love the beginning of Boo. I love Videl. I love Gohan. But they killed my boy. Gohan got murdered because of it. Yeah. But anyway, guys, that's gonna wrap up this video. Again, my overall thoughts are, give you a little bullet point real quick. The best way to fix GT: get rid of the Dragon Ball, the Black Star Dragon Balls. Get rid of Goku becoming a child. Spend the first 16 episodes of the series spending time with Goku and Pan. Spend time with them going around the world and seeing the other Z Fighters, meeting them, hanging out with them, spending time with them, training with them. Heck, you can get into fun little shenanigans. You know, we had that filler episode where Piccolo and Goku are driving cars. Shit, how about we have Pan driving a car? Maybe Goku and Piccolo are trying to teach her how to drive, and we spend an episode with them messing around. You know, it doesn't have to be anything that like jokey and lighthearted. It could be something a little more serious and a little more fight oriented to set up towards the next big arc. But you know, spend part of that time also having Baby start becoming a thing. Spend more time with the Tuffles' history and their desire for revenge against the Saiyans. You know, with Super 17, I don't like the whole Mew in the Hell afterlife stuff. Maybe let's find a new villain who picks up after Gero. Maybe a child of someone from the Red Ribbon Army is an adult now and has got their master's degree in supervillain science and creates an evil 17 with the sole purpose of possessing 17 and becoming Super 17. And then have the biggest part with that complaint, honestly, is the fighting in the Hell part. So if you cut out the Hell part and then you make the fights with Super Saiyan Goku feel a little bit more true to what Goku's Super Saiyan 4 form was against Baby and ends up being later on against the Dragons, I'd be happier. And then against the Dragons, honestly, keep their abilities, just redesigned how the Dragons act and how they fight and how those fights go down. That's the biggest thing. Like I said, this Dragon Ball GT is great ideas executed poorly. And it's good for what it is, but honestly, you could take everything out of that series if you just left Super Saiyan 4. Give me Super Saiyan 4 in Super or in some variation of Super, and I could take no GT. So, with that being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit the like button. If you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And we got a question. I'll answer it in a later video if anyone comments. Probably won't get very many views, though, but whatever. What is your guys' favorite saga in Dragon Ball Z? Mine, personally, my favorite saga probably has to be Cell. I think that's probably my favorite saga. Just got some of the most memorable moments, and it introduces my favorite character in the entire franchise, which is Trunks. But let me know. Did I say Dragon Ball Z? I'm in all of Dragon Ball. So that includes Super and GT and regular Dragon Ball. Alright, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'll catch you guys in the next video.